Hello Class 8. I hope you all are fine and safe. Today we are going to start our first chapter of Civics, the Union and State Legislature. Now let's get started. As described in the Constitution, the government comprises three branches. So there are three branches of the government. The first is the executive, second the legislature, and the third is the judiciary. The executive is the branch that ensures that rules are properly implemented and the law is followed. So executive branch ensures, the work of the executive branch is to ensure that all the rules are being properly followed by the people and law is maintained in the country. The legislature is the branch that consists of elected members who make laws for the country. So it is the group of members who make law for the country. The judiciary is the branch that takes decisions regarding disputes arising out of lawmaking or law implementation and law abiding. So the judiciary takes control and set all the disputes arising out of lawmaking and law implementation and law abiding in the country. Now the federal structure of the government. According to the Constitution, our country has a government of the center and government at the state level, and this is called federal structure of the government. So in our country we have government at the two levels, at the center and at the state. Thus the center government has three branches. What are they? First is executive. It consists of the president, prime minister and his or her cabinet of minister. The second is legislature, the parliament, Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha. The judiciary, the Supreme Court. And at the state level, the three branches are executive, which consists of governor, chief minister and his or her cabinet of ministers. The second branch is legislature, the Vidhan Sabha and the Parishad. The judiciary is the third branch, which consists of the courts. The higher court is High Court, and after that the subordinate courts. Okay, as there is a government both at the center and the state, it is important that laws made by each of them don't conflict, and to ensure this, the Constitution provides the three lists containing subjects for which these governments to make laws. So it is important for the government that there should be no conflict, or you can say there should be no interference between the state government and the central government. Central government check the things and the subject, they have their own subject on which they check their things, and the state government have their own concern and subject on which they check and work. Now there are three certain lists. The first is the union list. It includes subjects on which the central government alone can legislate and enact laws. What are they? The defense, railway, foreign affairs, etc. So these are the subjects on which only the central government can take decisions. Okay. Now the state list, it includes subject on which the state government alone can legislate and enact laws. What are they? The public health, hospital, irrigation, police, etc. So these subjects like public health, hospital, irrigation, police, etc. are all these subjects on which only the state government can act and control and can check things regarding all these subjects. Now the third is the concurrent list. It includes subject on which both the state government and the central government can legislate and enact laws. What are they? Education, electricity, forest, etc. So there are certain subjects like electricity, power, forest, education, on which both the central and the state government can legislate and enact laws, and they can work on these subjects. Okay. However, in the event of conflict between the center and the state, the central law would prevail. But if there any conflict occur between the center and the state, so the central law would always be prevail in the country, or particular in that state. Okay. Thus, our country, India, is a parliamentary democracy where the parliament is supreme and is formed by the people of the country. Indirectly, the people run the government through their elected representatives. The constitution has made a federal structure of the government wherein the power is distributed between the central and the state. The legislature at the central consists of the parliament. The Parliament of India is the supreme legislative body in India. The parliament consists of two houses called as Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and the President of India. Now, what is Lok Sabha? Lok Sabha is also known as the House of the People or the lower house. Okay, so it is known as the House of the People or the lower house. Composition and tenure of the Lok Sabha. Tenure means the term. Okay, now let us see the composition of the Lok Sabha. The constitution provides that the maximum strength of the Lok Sabha be 552, means 552 members should be there in the Lok Sabha, out of which 525 members represent the territorial constituencies in state. Up to 20 members represent the union territories, and not more than 2 members from Anglo-Indian community can be nominated by the President of India. Lok Sabha has a term of 5 years, though it can be dissolved earlier in the event of the national emergency, or if the vote of no confidence is passed against the government. So it has the term of 5 years, but it can also be dissolved in the case of national emergency, or if no confidence is passed against the government. Lok Sabha term can also be extended during an emergency. Now the election to the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha members are elected directly by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise is the right of the people to cast their vote. So they cast their vote through a secret ballot. Every citizen of India who is over 18 years of age, irrespective of the gender, caste, religion or race, who is otherwise not disqualified, is eligible to vote for the Lok Sabha. Eligibility for Lok Sabha member. Now what is the eligibility to become a member of Lok Sabha? To be eligible for member in the Lok Sabha, a person must be a citizen of India, and he must be 25 years of age or older, mentally sound, should not be bankrupt, and should not be criminally convicted. She should not hold an office of profit, and should not be a member of Rajya Sabha. So to become a member of a Lok Sabha, the minimum age is 25 years old. He should be mentally sound, mentally perfect, you can say, should not be a bankrupt, and should not be criminally convicted, and he should also not be the member of Rajya Sabha. Okay. Lok Sabha Speaker. The Speaker is the presiding officer of the lower house of the Parliament. So the Speaker is the officer of the Lok Sabha. Okay. What is the function of the Speaker? The Speaker of the Lok Sabha conducts the business in the House. So you can say the Speaker manages everything in the House, in the Lok Sabha. Okay. He or she maintains discipline and decorum in the House and can punish members for their unruly behavior by suspending them. The Speaker decides on the agenda to be taken up for discussion during the meeting. So he or she or the Speaker decide whatever topic has to be taken up for the discussion during the meeting. The Speaker is elected in the very first meeting of the Lok Sabha. So he or she is elected among the members of the Lok Sabha only in the very first meeting of the Lok Sabha after the general elections and for a term of 5 years. So the Speaker is elected for the term of 5 years from amongst the member of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so the Speaker is the member amongst member of the Lok Sabha. He or she is elected from the among the members of the Lok Sabha. Okay. Now the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is also known as the Council of States or the Upper House. So Rajya Sabha is all known as the Council of States or the Upper House. Composition and tenure of the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha can have a maximum of 250 members in all. Okay, so the maximum members a Rajya Sabha can have is 250. Each member has a term of 6 years and elections are held for 1/3 of the seats after every 2 years. So each member of the Rajya Sabha has a term of 6 years and elections are held after every 2 years for the 1/3 of the seats. 238 members are to be elected from states and union territories and 12 are to be nominated by the President and shall consist of persons having special knowledge or practical experience in respect of such matters such as following, namely literature, science, art and social service. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body and is not subject to dissolution. However, 1/3 of the members retire every second year and are replaced by newly elected members. Each member is elected for a term of 6 years. Now the election to the Rajya Sabha. Its members are indirectly elected by the members of legislative bodies of the state. So the members are elected by the members of the legislative bodies of the state. Representatives of the states are elected by the elected members of the legislative assembly of the state in accordance with the system of proportional representation by the means of single transferable vote. Representatives of the union territories are indirectly elected by the members of the electoral college for that territory in accordance with the system of proportional representation. Now the eligibility for Rajya Sabha membership. The minimum age for a person to become a member of Rajya Sabha is 30 years. Other eligibility conditions for the Rajya Sabha members are the same as that of the members of the Lok Sabha. So the only change is that the age of a person to become a member of Rajya Sabha should be at least 30 years. Chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. Unlike the Lok Sabha, where the business of the House is conducted by the Speaker, the Rajya Sabha is chaired by the Vice President of India, who is the ex officio chairman. So, in the Lok Sabha, the business is conducted by the Speaker, but in the Rajya Sabha it is conducted by the Vice President of India, who is also a ex officio chairman. Okay. Remuneration of members of parliament. The salary of members of parliament is revised with time as per the price index. In 2012, each MP was entitled to a salary of 1,44,000 per year and a daily allowances of rupees 500 when parliament is in session. Beside the salary and daily allowances, MPs are entitled to a number of other facilities such as residence, travel, telephone, etc., and a pension on requirement. Now, the functions of the parliament. The parliament has four main functions. First is legislative function, making laws; executive functions, control over the functioning of the government; judicial function, impeachment of chief justice and president; and the electoral function, election of the president as a part of electoral college. Let us understand the legislative function. The parliament exercises legislation to make laws on the subject of the union list and the concurrent list. So the parliament make laws for the union and the concurrent list. Also, during an emergency in a state, the parliament make laws on the subject of the state list. But also during the emergency, the parliament also make laws on the subjects of the state list. Okay, so it makes laws for the subject of the union list and the concurrent list, and also during an emergency it make laws on the subject of the state list. The parliament legislates to make amendments in the constitution. So the parliament make amendments in the constitution. The parliament legislate on the budget, which is an estimate of the annual income and expenditure for a financial years. It also approves income and expenditure of the government. Approval of presidential ordinance and proclamation is the function of the parliament. So these are the basic legislative functions. Now let us see lawmaking procedure. How a bill changes into an act, how a bill become an act. It is very important topic, children. Okay, legislative proposals are brought before either house of the parliament in the form of a bill. So an act is earlier a kind of a bill which is brought in front of the house. Okay, now there are three stages through which a bill has to pass in one house of the parliament. Any member seek the permission of the house to introduce a bill. So first of all, a bill is introduced in the house. In the first stage, only the principles and the provisions of the bill are discussed. The second stage concerned the consideration of the bill and its provision. The House debates over a clause by clause consideration of the bill. When all the clauses have been put to vote and disposed of, the second reading of the bill is over. So first of all, the principle and the provisions of the bills are discussed. After that, consideration of the bill and its provision are discussed. The members of the House debate over a clause by clause consideration of the bill, and when all the clauses are disposed of, the second reading of the bill is over. Now the third stage is confined only to the arguments either in support of the bill or for its rejection, without referring to its details. The bill is put to vote. After the bill is passed, it is sent to the other house where the same procedure is followed. Now all the ordinary bills can be initiated in either house of the parliament. An ordinary bill can be initiated, means can be taken up in any of the house of the parliament, but money bills only originate in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha gets 14 days time to consider the bill, otherwise it is deemed to be passed. Money bill originate only in the Lok Sabha. Ordinary bill can be initiated in both the houses of the parliament. The bill finally goes to the president for his assent. When he or she sign on the bill becomes an act. So this is the process how a bill becomes an act. Okay. Now the executive function. The Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers forms the government that implements the laws made by the Parliament. So, Prime Minister and his ministers forms the government and they implement all the laws made by the Parliament. At the same time, the Prime Minister and his council is answerable to the Parliament. So they are responsible for all the things, for all the laws which they have implemented to the people, to the entire country, and they are answerable to the Parliament. They are the very responsible, you can say, the person or the group, and they are answerable to each of the laws they have implemented to the Parliament. The Parliament thus controls the executive through question and the debates. Other than this, the Parliament draws the attention of the government on matters of immediate interest by stalling the routine business through an adjournment motion. So the Parliament check the executive members through question and debates. They can ask whatever the thing is going on in the Parliament. Also, improper working of the minister can be penalized by a censure motion. So if any of the minister is doing anything wrong or it's improper, he or she can be penalized, and the government can be dismissed by a no confidence motion, and the government can also be dismissed by the no confidence motion. Judicial function. The Parliament alone has the authority to remove the President and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court from office through the process of impeachment. So the Parliament can remove the President as well as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court from their office through the process of impeachment. Now the electoral function. The members of the state assemblies and the Parliament together forms the electoral college. They vote to elect the President and the Vice President of India. So the members of the state assemblies and the Parliament together vote and elect the President and the Vice President of India. Session of the Parliament. The period during which the House meets to conduct its business is called a session. So it is a period during which the member of the Parliament meets for their business, and so it is called a session. The Constitution empowers the President to summon each house at such intervals that there should not be more than 6-month gap between the two sessions. So the Constitution has given the power to the President that he should check that there should not be more than 6-month gap between each session. So there should be at least 2 meetings in a year. Hence the Parliament must meet at least twice in a year. As a practice, the Parliament conducts 3 sessions each year. First is budget session in the month of February to May. Second is monsoon session in the month of July to September, and the third is winter session in the month of November to December. So these 3 sessions are compulsory. So they have to meet in these 3 sessions in a house. A minimum of 10% members must be present to conduct business in the house. There should be at least 10% members to conduct a meeting in a house. This is called quorum. Okay, so this criteria is known as quorum. Now the state legislature. India is a union of state according to the constitution, and as of now there are 29 state and 7 union territories in the country. While the states have their own legislature headed by a governor, the union territories excluding the National Capital Territory region, Delhi NCR and the Pondicherry are legislated by the parliament and administered by the lieutenant governor. So you know that there are 29 state and 7 union territories in the country, and the governor is the head of the state. Similar to the legislature at the center, the house of the people is called the Vidhan Sabha or the legislative assembly. Most states have only the Vidhan Sabha as the legislative body. Now this is called unicameral legislature. So the state which only have Vidhan Sabha are called unicameral legislature. There are 6 states which have 2 houses for legislature, and this is called bicameral legislature. These states have a Vidhan Parishad or legislative council in addition to the Vidhan Sabha. So there are 6 states which have both the houses, Vidhan Sabha and the Vidhan Parishad. Now the composition and tenure of the state legislature. The Vidhan Sabha has members proportionate to the size of the population of the state. A populous state like UP has 404 members, while Sikkim has just 32 members. So the members of the Vidhan Sabha are proportionate according to the size of the population of the state. If the state is highly populated, so there would be more amount of members, and if the state are having less population, so it will be according to that population. The maximum strength of the Vidhan Sabha is 500 members. The strength of the Vidhan Parishad does not exceed 1/3 of the Vidhan Sabha, but cannot be less than 40 members. Vidhan Sabha, the maximum strength of the Vidhan Sabha is 500 members, but the strength of the Vidhan Parishad should not exceed 1/3 member of the Vidhan Sabha, and it should not be less than 40 members. Okay, like the Lok Sabha, the Vidhan Sabha has a nominal tenure of 5 years. So it has a normal tenure of 5 years unless it is dissolved earlier or extended by the president during emergency. The Vidhan Parishad is a permanent body where the member have a 6-year tenure. 1/3 of its members retire every 2 years, similar to the Raj Sabha. Now the election to the state legislature. Election to the Vidhan Sabha is similar to the Lok Sabha, and members are elected directly by the people on the basis of universal adult franchise through a secret ballot. So the election of the Vidhan Sabha is similar to the Lok Sabha, where the members are elected by the people through a secret ballot. For the Vidhan Parishad, 1/3 of its members are elected by the members of the Vidhan Sabha, 1/3 members are elected by the members of the Vidhan Sabha, okay, and another 1/3 by the members of the local bodies like municipal boards, etc. 50% of the remaining seats are filled by the members nominated by the governor of the state, while the rest are filled by the members elected by the university graduates and teachers of secondary school. So for Vidhan Parishad, 1/3 seats are elected by the members of the Vidhan Sabha, and another 1/3 by the member of the local body, and 50% of the remaining seats are filled by the members nominated by the governor of the state, while the rest are filled by the members elected by the university graduates and teachers of the secondary school. Okay. Now the session of the state legislature and the speaker. The state legislature also have 3 sessions like the parliament at the center. The Vidhan Sabha has a speaker who is elected from among its members, while the Vidhan Parishad is presided over by a chairman. Okay. Functions of the state legislature. Similar to the parliament, the state legislature also has legislative, executive, and the electoral functions. The state legislature makes and amends laws contained in the state and the concurrent list. So the function of the state legislature is to make and amend laws. Amend means change laws contained in the state and the concurrent list. It debates on the state budget and legislate the income and expenditure of the state government. So it also take decisions on the state budget and the income and expenditure of the state government. It controls the executive power of the government through question and debates. It also legislates on bills for constitutional amendments. It can pass a censure or no confidence motion. The state legislature is a part of electoral college for the election of the president and vice president. In the bicameral states, the Vidhan Parishad has limitations in comparison to the Vidhan Sabha, like that of the Rajya Sabha at the center. The Vidhan Parishad cannot initiate a money bill, nor it can pass a censure or no confidence motion. So like the Rajya Sabha at the center, Vidhan Parishad also cannot initiate a money bill, nor it can pass a censure or no confidence motion. A bill passed by the state legislature is signed by the governor and becomes a law. So for the state, a bill when signed by the governor can become a law. However, the governor can reserve a bill for consultation with the president, and he can also retain the bill, or you can say reserve a bill for the further consultation with the president. Also, during the president's rule in the state, the Vidhan Sabha is dismissed and legislation is exercised by the parliament. And whenever the president rule is applied in the state, Vidhan Sabha also dissolved and the legislation is exercised by the parliament, and parliament took over the legislation in the state. Parliament holds or have the power to do or discuss or take any decisions in the state whenever the president rule is applied in the state. Also, if desired in national interest, the parliament can make laws on subject of the state list, and if it is desirable, the parliament can also make laws on the subject of the state list. Okay, so children, this was all about this chapter. Now go through this video again, and after that write the hard words, all the exercises and the question answers in your civics copy. Thank you.